Hi there, welcome to another edition of Yoga with Anne. That's me. Today we're going to be working a sequence that will focus on your neck and back, but as always, a well-rounded practice. A reminder to honor your body today and always. I give modifications, adjustments, suggestions. If something doesn't feel okay, you don't do it. Please honor your body today. Just because you could do something yesterday doesn't mean that you do it today. And with everything going on in the world right now, you may feel like doing a longer shavasana or skipping a pose or coming into something early or coming out of something early. So really honor that and pay attention to what you need right now in this moment. As always, these videos are free and they always will be. I just like to put in a little plug because I had a student ask how she could pay me for these classes. If you're interested in making a donation to my teaching, there's information below. You can go to my website, gofitgirl.com, click classes and read about that. The money that's donated to me, I donate part of that to local charities. So read more about that on my website. Today, the props that you will need are one yoga block. Typically, if a yoga teacher tells me we only need one block, I grab two. So if you happen to have yoga blocks, get two. That's always okay. Yoga block, strap, and blanket. And of course, I know that many of you don't have those props at home. So there's things that you can use in your house. And if you, for some reason, don't have the item I'm asking you to get, then I will give you adjustments to use your own body as props. But everyone should for sure have like a bath towel or a blanket that folds easily or nicely. That's something for sure you need. So you can just use, a beach towel, a bath towel. The bigger the better because then you have more options with it. In lieu of a block, you can use book or books. And then if you don't have a yoga strap, you could use the belt from your robe or a necktie. So those will work for your straps, but also for your props today. I'm going to move back and we'll get started with our practice. You're going to come to lie down on your mat. So this is where the blanket's nice. So I'm going to actually use my yoga props, but when I say blanket, if you have a towel, that's what you use. And it's nice to have it folded to support your head, especially because most of us are pretty tight in the upper back and shoulders and neck. And so it can be nice to have this to help release. Most of us are like this, and probably even more so now with extra stress, working from home, not leaving the house as much. So support your head because that will feel good on your body. And if you find it doesn't work, then you make that adjustment. So start with your knees bent and your feet on your mat about hip distance apart, feeling around for the bony protrusions, and that gives you an idea of what is hip distance apart. If you'd like to have your feet farther forward, you're welcome to do that. So find what's comfortable for you. You might have to shift your hips, your shoulders, your arms should be wherever is comfortable for you. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And here you're just going to start to take notice of your breath. If it would be easier for you to connect with your breath, you could place your hands on your belly, your hands on your chest, one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Find what's comfortable and accessible for you. If you're someone like me who likes being at the beach, by the ocean, you can imagine the waves coming in and rolling out as your breath. That's something that causes anxiety or stress, come up with your own visual. It could even be the sun popping out behind the clouds and then going back behind the clouds again. Anything that will bring you calm, that can get you connected to your breath. There's a nice visual of being outside in a favorite place of yours. If you're using the wave idea, the ocean, as you inhale, the wave rolls onto the shore, and as you exhale, it retreats back into the ocean. Wave rolling in, wave rolling out. This is where it's easy for your your mind to wander, to start to worry, to start to think about things you have to do later, things that have already happened today, come back to your breath. Always come back to your breath. It's your greatest tool. The next time your body receives its next inhale, take a fuller, deeper, longer inhale to your capacity. And as you exhale, release with a sigh. Do that again. Inhale and exhale. One more round. Inhale and exhale. Start to move your fingers and your toes, your hands and your feet, moving your wrists and your ankles. Maybe you want to stretch, move your head side to side, hug your knees into your chest, rock a little bit. It's going to be a really nice start to warm up your back as you feel your low back spread onto your mat. And bring your feet back down to your mat. Coming back to constructive rest. So if you're stretched out, bring your feet back. And then step your feet as wide as your mat. We're going to move to our breath. So as you inhale, think about your knees standing tall up toward the ceiling, wherever you are. And as you exhale, move your knees over to one side. Inhale, reaching your knees back up. Exhale, moving your knees to the other side. So you move to your own breath. Inhale back up. Exhale to that first side. You also decide how far your knees go. If it's better for you to just move your knees over a couple of inches, then you do that. You can kind of slowly move into it, maybe moving the knees a little farther down toward your mat each time. Or maybe you keep them higher up. The next time you're over to the first side where you began, if you don't remember, you just pick a side. You're going to hold your knees over there for a few rounds of breath. So if you need to keep them higher, you keep them higher. If you're holding it longer than is appropriate for your body, bring your knees back up. Hands and arms are wherever is comfortable for you. I typically like to have mine on my belly. It helps to remind me of that connection with my breath. But you may have a different, better spot for you. The next time you inhale, lift your knees back up. And the next time you exhale, you'll move them to the other side to hold. Adjusting your feet if you need to, not holding as long, maybe holding longer than the first side. Next inhale, bring your knees back up. Step your feet back to hip distance apart, make any adjustments you might need to. And then hug your right knee into your chest and hold it here just for a moment. If you have something that's a strap or is a strap, you're going to get that. And you're going to take it and you're going to either put it around the ball or the arch of your foot. You get to decide. If you don't have a strap, you're going to start to lift your leg and bring your hand behind your hamstrings at the back of your thigh. If you have a strap, hold on the right side with your right hand, the left side with your left hand. Press through your heel. If that causes any issues like sciatica or anything else going on in your back, press more through the ball of the foot. So you want to make sure that your foot and leg are active here. If you have some sort of prop, your leg should be as straight as possible. If you don't, that's just more difficult to do. So if you have a strap and your knee is really bent, move your leg away from your face. It's okay. It's okay if it's all the way down here. Everybody's body is different. You feel that stretch and lengthening through the back of your leg, out through your heel and toes. Perhaps you feel a connection with your hip. your belly button. Notice if you're gripping onto your strap for dear life. Can you support your foot and leg without overdoing it in your hands and arms? Bend your knee, tug it back into your chest, set your strap either on your belly or to the side, then set your foot back down on your mat. Hug your other knee into your chest, holding on here for a breath or two. If you have a strap or something like a strap, use that. Extend your leg up long and tall toward the ceiling, making an adjustment. This side of your body is much different from the first side. Reaching in through the heel or the ball of your foot. Typically, people who have sciatica only have it on one side, but that's not always the case. So you may find you do different things for different sides of the body. And it's not just sciatica, the other issues in your low back. We have tight hamstrings that pulls on the pelvis that creates back issues. Almost all of us have had some sort of back pain sometime in our adult life. And if you haven't, you're very lucky. We don't want to create any back pain, so we want to keep our bodies safe. Bend your knee, bringing it back into your chest. Set your strap aside, hug both knees into your chest. Do a little rocking. Set your feet back down on your mat, and you're going to roll over to one side. Taking a moment here before coming up to seated. The strength of your hands and arms, press yourself back up, bringing your head up last. Next pose we're going to set up for is a heart opener, which is one of my favorites, and it's a great way to help open the chest, release the neck, the shoulders, the upper back. And it can change how you're feeling. So if you're feeling anxious, tired, upset, it kind of gives you whatever you need right now. It's a pretty amazing pose. So depending on what you're using as your blanket, you want to kind of come into this position. Of course, everyone's is going to look a little different because we're all using different props. And for me, with my roll, I already know that if I roll this whole blanket, it's way too big for my body. So you may have to adjust, especially if you have something bigger. So I'm going to roll about halfway because I know that that's what's best for my body. And then it's nice I have a little bit of cushion under my head. So if you find that you do need support under your head and whatever your prop is not big enough, you can get another blanket. You can always just pause, go get what you need, and come back for setup. So the goal of this pose is to support the lower tips of your shoulder blades. And people get confused where those are. So if you kind of move your arm around, you'll feel your shoulder blades moving. So lower tips of your shoulder blades are in line with your armpits. So we're going to actually rest the lower tips of your shoulder blades on the support, not the actual shoulder blades. Those will be more on the mat. You can come to lie on one side. So you kind of like have your armpit on the roll and be at one end, because when you roll over, you want to make sure that you're still on your roll. And you slowly start to roll, coming into constructive rest. You may have to adjust a little bit here. It may feel pretty intense. Give it a breath or two. Make adjustments. Typically, people are too high. There'll be more here. This is, it's not terrible, but it's not really doing what it needs to do. Your arms should easily come above the roll. It doesn't mean they need to stay there. You can always rest your arms on the roll. If it's better, have your arms down. You need to be comfortable. It's pretty okay for me here in a T. You can keep your knees bent or extend your legs out long. Check in. That might be more intense on your low back. You could step your feet wide and have your knees in together. That's my favorite position to be. If you feel like your neck's still being crunched, you might have to unroll some of this. You might need to put more support under your head. This is a heart opener, a back bend. So I mentioned as we started our practice that we're typically more hunched forward. So this is doing the exact opposite of how our bodies typically are, opening up. So this can be intense physically because these muscles are not used to being in this position. It can be intense emotionally, because your heart is really open and vulnerable, and depending on what's happening for you right now, that might be a lot. So you could place your hands on your heart. You could put another blanket on your heart, something that just gives you a little bit of weight there. If in the end it's too much, then you roll over and come back up and have a seat and just close your eyes. Typically, I like to hold this pose for about 5 minutes. So if you'd like to hold it that long, if you feel you have the capacity physically and emotionally, I encourage you to pause, set a timer on your phone, hold for 5 minutes, come out, unpause, and continue. We'll probably hold for a minute or two here. I'll come into a little bit of silence, that idea of coming back to your breath. Thinking about the waves here. As you inhale and as you exhale. Start to deepen your breath. If your legs are out long, bend your knees and bring your feet back to your mat. Bring your feet to hip distance apart. And roll over onto one side, off of the roll. Pressing yourself back up to seated. Oh, and just take a moment here. It won't be here very long. Sit comfortably, whatever that means for you, to sit well. That's a great pose. You can do that before you go to bed, before you start your work day, whenever you need it. It's easy to do. You don't need much of a prop. I didn't mention this, but when I used to teach classes at the gym, we didn't have props, so we used our yoga mats. You can roll your mat all the way, part way. It works just as well as a blanket or a towel. Now come onto all fours in a tabletop. If you need padding for your knees, use your blanket or your towel. I don't typically use padding for my knees, but if you need it, please use it. So if you come here and you're like, oh, this is a lot on the knees, then use your blanket. No reason not to. Coming into a tabletop onto all fours, starting with your wrists below your shoulders and your knees below your hips. And then check in. Sometimes for our wrists, this is too much, and so you might have to step your hands forward, wider. The 90-degree angle can be pretty intense, especially a lot of us have repetitive issues in our hands and wrists. And then from here, we're going to move to our breath. So the next time you exhale, you're going to start with your pelvis. So this area of your body is going to tuck under, like thinking about a dog tucking its tail. Start to tuck and your back is going to round. Your chest is going to close and your head and neck will come down slightly. And then when you inhale, it starts to lift from your tail. So lift your tail up toward the ceiling. Allow your spine to follow, your heart to open, your shoulders to move back, and your head and neck to move slightly forward and up. Move to your own breath. So as you exhale, you round into that cat. So this is more of a forward fold. And as you inhale, allowing the air to come in, you come into the back bend, into the cow. A couple more times. As you come into the cat, think about that wave moving back into the ocean as you press the air out. And as you inhale, that wave coming onto the shore. Come back to your tabletop. From here, we're going to come into a downward facing dog. If you know that's not okay for you, you can stay in a tabletop. You can come into a child's pose. You can come into puppy pose where you step your hands more forward, shift your hips back, deciding where the best spot for you. You can always just watch and then do it the next time. So step your hands one handprint forward of where they just were. Curl your toes under. You're going to start to lift your knees up off of your mat. You're bringing your butt, hip, and thighs up and away, so into an inverted V. So lift up and then press away. So the movement is happening in your hips, not your shoulders. Watch when I move with my shoulders. I don't want you to do this. That's really bad for your shoulders. The upper body will follow, so keep your knees bent as you shift back. Lengthening through your spine, pressing through all four corners, not all four corners of your hands, pressing through all parts of your hands, knuckles, top of the palm, bottom of the palm. Make sure that your head's not up here. Your ears should be between your upper arms. You're looking at your toes. You can bend your knees a lot to help lengthen your spine. And then maybe your legs straighten, maybe they don't. Press your heels down toward the mat. They don't have to touch. You can pedal your feet here. This is an intense pose, especially if you're new to yoga. So come down to your knees whenever you're ready, but we're all going to come down. So no, you don't have to hold it for any amount of time unless it's okay for your body. Coming all the way down onto your belly. Stack your palms and rest your forehead, your chin, or your cheek on your hands. This is crocodile pose. This is what I call a teeny tiny baby back bend. You could stay right here while we do our back bends. I have my head up right now so that you can hear me, but typically you would rest and you're still doing a heart opener here. If you're ready to shift into one of our baby back bends, bring your hands right under your shoulders. Elbows are close to your sides. If your hands are right under your shoulders, your elbows and arms look like cricket legs. Press either your chin or your forehead into the mat. You don't have to press it, just allow it to be there so your neck is long. Don't curl your toes under, so press the very tops of your toes and feet into your mat, your knees into your mat. Lift your belly button up toward your spine. Move your shoulders about an inch toward your ears and then up toward the ceiling. This is bringing your shoulder blades down onto your rib cage. And then as you inhale, start to peel your chest up off the mat. Make sure your chin's not jutting forward. Keep your neck long so your gaze is a little bit in front of your mat. Opening your heart here. So if you're pressing through your chin, you're bending, crunching in the back of your neck. And it's not helping your heart opener. Next exhale, come back down. Stack your palms, rest your chin, cheek, forehead. Maybe wiggle out your hips a little bit. You could repeat that one. You could stay here in crocodile. You could not do any of them. Or you can bring your arms down by your sides for locust pose. So same setup. Press the tops of your feet, your knees. I know that's difficult. Just do your best. Your chin or your forehead is into the mat. Lift your belly up towards your spine. Shoulders up to your ears and up toward the ceiling. Lift your legs up. That might be enough for you today. Maybe you want to lift your triceps up toward the ceiling. Your palms will face toward each other like you're trying to press your hands together. And then peel your chest up off your mat. You could do all three, just one, just two, so check in. Keep your neck long, keep your breath flowing. Thinking about opening your heart. So if you find your shoulders are by your ears, see if you can bring them up toward the ceiling. Help open your chest, widen your shoulder blades. Next exhale, come back down. You can rest in crocodile. You can wiggle out your hips. You could bend your knees and do a little windshield wipering. You can stay here or transition into a child's pose. Pressing your hands into the mat, coming back to a tabletop. You decide how wide your knees are. Your big toes touch or come close together. Sit back on your heels. Drape your torso over your thighs, resting your forehead on the mat, on your palms, on your fists, on your block, your books, your blanket. Arms can be out in front, to the sides, wherever you're comfortable here. Reach your arms back out so your hands are active, your elbows are off of your mat. Come back up into a tabletop. Keep your hands right where they are. Separate your knees if you need to. Curl your toes under. Lift your knees up. Move your butt, hip, and thighs toward the back of the room to come into another downward facing dog. You can always stay in a tabletop if that's more appropriate. Imagine you're lifting your sit bones up toward the ceiling, moving your thighs behind you, pressing into all knuckles, palms, top, bottom of your hands. We're going to come into a forward fold. You can walk your feet to your hands to your feet, or a combination of the two. Most of us cannot easily reach the mat without rounding. So if you really find like you're rounding, your arms are just hanging there, bring them onto your body. This is a half fold, but it's completely acceptable. You could have your hands on your thighs, or even forearms on your thighs, and bend your knees. You want your spine to be really long. That's important here. So it's a hinge in your hip creases, not a rounding in your back. And then bring your hands to your hips, and you're going to start to lift from your belly button like you're reaching through the crown of your head. So it's a long line as you unhinge and lift up. Whew. Coming into Tadasana, mountain pose. So I mentioned the hip distance apart earlier. So think about hip distance apart. So feel those bony protrusions, like you could draw a line down your legs and a line would go right through the middle of your ankles. That's hip distance apart. Spread your toes and then set them back down on the mat. And then check in that your shoulders are right above your hips, your head and neck are floated evenly above your shoulders, and your arms just starting anywhere down by your sides. Typical Tadasana, you have your palms facing forward, and that allows you to open your chest for your shoulders to move away from your ears. I was in a class recently where the teacher had us bring our hands behind our backs, our elbows were out to the side, and I like that. That helps me to keep my chest open as well, so you can experiment with that if that helps you. I like it. I can feel a little bit of a stretch here because I'm usually more like this, so it gives me a little more of a oomph to remind myself to stand tall. Bring your arms back down by your sides. You're going to go to your own breath. As you inhale, reach through your fingertips, reaching all the way up, reaching fingertips toward the ceiling. And as you exhale, turn your palms out, reach through your fingertips as you bring your arms down. Inhale, reaching out through your palms and fingertips. Inhale up. Turn your palms as you exhale, reaching back down. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Reach your right arm out, pressing through your palms. Stop in the name of love, about shoulder height. And then tilt your head and neck to the other side. So don't bring your shoulder up, just tilt your ear like curious dog. You'll probably feel some sensations here. Breathe through it. Maybe even feel it all the way into the side of your neck. Keep your head tilted if it's okay as you slowly lower your arm down by your side. Bring your head and neck back up. And then reach through your other arm, pressing through your palm about shoulder height. If you need to adjust or bend your elbow a little bit, you do. Then tilt your head or your ear toward your opposite shoulder. Feeling the sensations, breathing through. Slowly start to lower your arm down. Coming back up, do a little bobblehead, maybe a little shake. Coming back to Tadasana, so we've got that rooting through our feet to lift, to lengthen. That's helpful for most of our yoga poses. And then you're going to come back to that first side, tilting your ear, so your head and neck, but you're really tilting your ear toward that shoulder. So tilting your right ear toward your right shoulder. And then you'll feel a stretch on the left side. And then you're going to bring your chin down a little bit toward your collarbones. And then bringing your chin up a little bit toward maybe where the wall and the ceiling meet. And go back and forth. So it's a subtle movement. You still got the tilt. And you might find a spot It's more intense than any other. And if they all feel intense, you just pick a spot and you stay there. And maybe it's just a tiny, tiny movement. You're sending your breath there, even though I know you can't breathe into your neck. Imagine you can. Next time you inhale, lift your head back up. Do a little shake. Inhale. And on your exhale, tilting to the second side. So coming on over here for a breath or two before we make any movement. So just feel whatever the stretch is right here. And then start to make that subtle movement, bringing your chin down toward your chest. Coming back up. One side may be way more intense than the other. Find that spot, that sweet spot. Next time you inhale, coming back up, do a little bobblehead. Let's do some shoulder rolls, bringing your shoulders forward, up, back, and down. You keep your arms down by your side, bringing your hands to your hips, and maybe more with the elbows moving. Feel your shoulder blades, your upper back. You get to the side. One more. Awesome. All right, give those arms a shake, back down by your sides. And then you're going to interlace your hands behind your head like you're going to do a crunch. And you want to reach your elbows away from each other as much as you can. Still standing tall, so check in that you're not arching in your back. So you want to have a lift in your belly. So start the feet, lifting your toes up, setting them down. Feel that lift in your belly. Your chest is open and wide, reaching through your elbows. And then start to tilt over to the right. So tilting your right elbow down to the right, keeping your left elbow, so you're reaching your elbows away, reaching your right elbow down to the floor, your left elbow up toward the ceiling. Keep breathing. Inhale back up. Reaching your elbows away from each other, and then slowly start to tilt so that your left elbow is reaching down toward the left, your right elbow is reaching toward the right. Reaching away from each other, you're still breathing. Next time you inhale, reach back up. Exhale, reach your elbows away, and then release, and give it a good shake. I'm going to step back off of my mat so you can see me a little bit better, but you stay on your mat. I'm going to move my strap out of the way, and step your feet wide, and then rotate your right foot and leg 90 degrees, so make sure it turns that whole way. Your back foot, the heel will kick out about an inch, your toes will come in slightly. Start to bend your front knee, so make sure it's not coming inward and away from your toes. You want to aim it towards your second and third toe, right over your heel. So don't come too far forward, don't let it fall in. So this leg's going to be really active here. And then you're going to bring your hands on your mid-ribs, and you're going to turn that part of your body toward the long edge of your mat. Then you'll start to reach your arms up to shoulder height. If you have shoulder issues, hands or one arm can be like this, hands at your hips, and what I call sassy warrior. So find the best warrior for you. Reach through your fingertips. Typically, your gaze is over your front middle finger, but you decide the best place for you. Then we're going to come into reverse warrior. So bring your back hand down to wherever it'll touch. Turn your front palm up. You're going to keep this lift and this reach as we start to reach our arm up. You could stay right here. You can start to come into a little bit of a back bend. So keep the reach from your belly, keeping your chest open, a little bit of a side stretch, side bend, but keep length. You don't have to go very far. You can always adjust this hand, arm, and then come back into your warrior two. Bring your arms down, straighten your front leg, parallel your feet. Let's set up for the second side, turning your left foot and leg 90 degrees. Back heel, kick it out about an inch. Toes are slightly in as you start to bend your front knee, checking it's not falling in, it's not going forward of your ankle. If it is, you either need to shorten your stance, or step your stance wider, or just back your knee up. It's okay if the knee is behind the heel and ankle, but not forward of it. We're weight bearing here. We need to keep knees safe. Pick up all your toes, front, back, foot. Set them back down. Check in with your knee. Turn your upper belly and chest toward the long edge of your mat. Reach your arms up, shoulder height. So imagine you're reaching through your shoulder blades, out through your fingertips. Adjust your arms if you need to. Decide where your gaze goes. Warrior 2. Virabhadrasana 2. Bring your back hand to touch onto your leg wherever it does. Front palm turns up. Start to reach up through your fingertips. Decide if you stay here or you start to have a little bit of a lift, keeping that in your belly, grounding through your front foot as you perhaps open your heart slightly. Coming back to your warrior 2. Bring your arms down, straighten your front leg, parallel your feet. Step your feet back together, coming back into your Tadasana, your mountain pose. I'm going to come back onto my mat. We're going to come into a balanced pose, Eagle, Garudasana. So we're going to do step by step and you decide where you go. If today for balance you just want to be here standing on one leg, then that's what you do. Totally fine, always. So coming into your Tadasana, we feel really rooted through your feet. Pick up all your toes, spread them, and then set them back down. You're going to just shift your weight just a tiny bit over to your right foot and leg as you bend your left knee, bringing your heel up off the mat. And you're going to cross your leg over your other leg, over your standing leg. So this might be where you're going to be today. It's totally fine. You want to keep your hips forward, lift in your belly, lift in that standing leg. Maybe you pick your foot up. Maybe you bring that foot behind that standing leg, keeping your hips forward. So if at any time that's not happening, you come back to a spot that's better for you to keep that lift. So and then bring your arms out in front of your chest. So your right foot is on bottom. So your right arm will go on top. Start with giving yourself a hug, even if you know eagle arms. Bring your hands to opposite shoulders. Create a lift in your elbows and then a little bit of a press away. If you can do other eagle arms where you bring your forearms so that they touch, back of palms together, front of palms together. I'm having all kinds of problems with my balance today. You decide. You can always come back to this hug. It's perfectly acceptable eagle arms. Keep your breath flowing. And then release. Give it a shake. Come back to your Tadasana, that stance, the roots of your body with your feet to get started, and then to create the lift, the open of the chest. You're not opening like into a back bend, but you've got this open chest instead of closed chest like this. And then you'll shift a little bit of weight into your left foot and leg as you bend your right knee, bringing your foot over. Decide where you're going to be. It can be very different. Make sure your hips are forward. So if they're wonky, then adjust where your right foot and leg are. And bring your arms out in front of your chest. So your left foot is on bottom. Your left arm will go on top. Start with a hug. Feel the lift and the press forward. So even though we're a little bit closed in the chest, you want to imagine you're reaching through your collarbones out through your shoulders. And then decide if you adjust your arms or you stay right where you are. And then imagine that you're bringing your thighs, squeezing them together. Help create that lift in your belly. Keep your breath flowing. Notice if you're holding it. And then like the gorgeous, beautiful eagles we are, taking flight, release. Give it a good shake. Yeah. All right, we're going to come down onto the mat for this next pose. Don't sit on anything. I typically, for almost all seated poses, sit on something. For this one, we don't. The next one we will, so you could have it right behind you. And come into like a seated constructive rest. So sit bones on the mat, knees are bent, feet are on your mat. And I want you to sit nice and tall. I know that might be hard to do without the blanket, but you'll see in a moment why we don't want the blanket. You could stay right here, having your hands on your shins or at the back of your thighs to sit tall. So let's come onto one toe, keeping that length. So we're always going to be nice and tall, sitting tall and long. And then come to the other toe. This may be enough for you today. Maybe pick one foot up and then the other. Maybe one and both. Woo. So keep the lift in your belly, keep long in your spine, chest open. You can stay right here. You can always come back to any of the variations that we've done. Your hands can stay here or reach out. So keep that lift, keep the open chest, keep the breath flowing. Maybe you want to straighten a leg or the other. Woo. Keep the lift, keep the open. If you've been a student of mine, the best kind of boat is, you said it, a sparkle boat. So sparkle those fingers and toes. Yeah. Then bring your feet down and give yourself a hug. And be glad that that is over. And then we're going to sit on our blanket or towel. So sit right on the edge and extend your legs out long. So sitting on the edge of the blanket helps to bring your pelvis slightly forward and have a long spine. Because most of us sit like this encourages to sit tall, to sit well. Bend your right knee, keep your left leg long, pressing through the ball or heel, depending on what's going on in your body. I should have done the other way because I'm going to turn away from you, but that's all right. I'll be very instructive. Inhale nice and tall. On your exhale, you're going to start to turn, starting from your belly button, bringing your left hand around on your leg, your back hand into your mat. Keep that lift, so inhale tall again. Start to move from your low belly, upper belly, chest, and shoulders. Back hand and arms support you, so don't lean into it. Helps to create the lift and to help the turn. Make sure that your other leg is still active. The next time you exhale, slowly come out of your twist. Extend both of your legs long, give a little wiggle, jiggle, windshield wipering. Then extend through your legs and bend your left knee, bringing your foot to your mat. Inhale tall here, so get that length. On your exhale, start moving from your belly button. So that's where the movement starts. Belly button, low belly, upper belly, chest, and then shoulders. Bring your right hand or arm around your leg, your back hand into the mat. Press through. Some of you have long arms, and so you'll be able to press your palm. I've got to use my fingertips to keep me tall and long, chest open, active through this foot and leg. Seated twist. Inhale tall. Exhale, come out of your twist. Extend both of your legs. Wiggle, jiggle, shake. And come off of your blanket. So if you don't have a block or books, you'll use your blanket for this next thing. We're not going to have anything under our head. We're going to come into a supported bridge. So we need to keep the natural curve of our neck for this. So if you have a big bulky blanket or something, or even a regular pillow under your head, your neck is going to press into that. We want to keep this nice long neck. So I'll show you how to do it with a block. It's the same if you use a book or books. And then I'll show you how to do it with the blanket. You come into constructive rest. Have your knees bent, your feet on the mat. Press through all four corners of your feet to lift up just enough to slide the block under. The block is not at your low back. So imagine it's kind of where a belt would go, or even a little lower. So your low back is free from the block. The block is supporting your hips, your pelvis, your sacrum. So you might have to shift it around a little bit, whether it's the block or a book. So I'm going to press into my feet again to lift up. Move the block out of the way. Slowly come down one vertebrae at a time, because I'm going to show you with the blanket. It's basically the same. You've got a little more leeway with the blanket. It's a little harder to get there, but it's doable. Press into my feet. Lift up. The blanket can be a little bit under your low back, as well as supporting your hips, your sacrum, your pelvis, and rest down. So see, not having anything under my neck, maintain the natural curve, keeps my neck healthy and not hurting. So whatever supported bridge you want to do, this is a little bit of a heart opener, a back bend, the slight inversion as your head is below your heart. It's a restorative pose. It's a great pose to do. If you plan on holding this for a period of time, you can step your feet wide and allow your knees to support each other. This is one if you chose to hold a little longer, you could pause Hold for 2, 3, 4, however many minutes would feel good for you. You've adjusted your feet, come back to constructive rest, press your feet into your mat to lift up, moving your support out of the way, one vertebrae at a time comes down, the hips slowly connect, making an adjustment. Staying here for a moment, and then rolling over to one side, just for a breath. Press yourself up to seated. Excuse me. Setting up for Shavasana, final relaxation pose. So if you have lots of pillows, props, blankets, I always like to still have support under my head. For most of us, lying flat on hardwood floor, I don't know, you might be on carpet, so maybe it's a little comfy. It's not super comfortable and can't stay comfortable. And the point of Shavasana is to be comfortable so that you can be calm in body, mind, and breath. So if you need extra support, if I were holding a considerable Shavasana, I would have a bolster under my knees, and I know a lot of you don't have bolsters, so then you just roll up another blanket. So again, you can pause, get what you need so that you can be comfortable, and then come to lay back down. If you don't have any of those things, you're like, oh, I really wish I did, you can come into constructive rest. Normally for Shavasana, I love to hold for 5, 10, 15 minutes. We'll just hold for a couple. So again, if you want to hold longer, you get yourself set up, you pause, you set your timer, then you join when you're ready. So I like to set my feet wide and have my knees together if I don't have any other support. That helps to release my low back. So the nice thing is we did do a lot of back stuff, so having a roll under your knees and having your legs out long can be really supportive in your Shavasana. You might need to shift a little bit here. Have your hands and arms where it's comfortable. I like to have them on my belly to connect with my breath. Next inhale, fuller, deeper, longer. Sigh out your exhale. Do that again. And start to settle into your shape. Notice if you're fidgeting or you really need to make an adjustment. Do you need to scratch an itch? Come back to your visual, whatever it is, whether it's the waves in the ocean, the sun and the clouds, something else. As your breath comes in, as your breath goes out. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Start to move your fingers and your toes, your hands and your feet, wrists and ankles. And here you could do a little windshield wipering. You could stretch, move your head side to side, whatever would be really delicious for your body right now. Maybe it's to stay in Shavasana a couple more breaths. You could hug your knees into your chest and rock from one side to the other. Eventually making your way over to one side. Don't come up too quickly. Stay here for a breath or two. You're still in your practice. With the strength of your hands and arms, you can press yourself up to seated. Bringing your head up last. Find a comfortable seat where you can sit well. So use that blanket. You can sit cross-legged. You can sit with your legs out long, your knees bent, your feet on your mat. Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, whatever's comfortable for you. Sitting tall for a moment here. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Connecting with your breath once again. Bring your hands together at heart center in Anjali Mudra. Pressing your left hand into your right as much as you press your right hand into your left. Keep peace in your mind. Keep strength in your body. And keep love in your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. If you need to get a hold of me for any reason, you can email me at therealgofitgirl@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook and Twitter as GoFitGirl and Instagram as TheRealGoFitGirl. You can comment below. I'm always taking requests. Hope you have a lovely day. Take care of yourself, and I hope to practice with you again soon. Thanks.